Hi everyone, my name is Laurence Slomoi. I'm a chartered accountant and one of the principals at Slomoi Partners. Myself and my wife Lana and our kids are long-standing members of the Chabad Glen Eira community. We very much miss being able to spend time at the center and see all of you in person. And we look forward to being able to share a l'chaim very soon. Mendy's asked me to say a few words in relation to maintaining your financial well-being during the coronavirus crisis. Obviously, these are general points in nature and don't take into account your specific circumstances. These are unprecedented times that we're currently experiencing. And this is impacting us socially, physically, mentally, and financially. It's important to keep in digital contact with others and stay active where possible. But equally, we should be taking care of our financial well-being. The points I'm going to share with you today are designed to help you stay on top of some of your financial issues that you're facing, and also to understand what options are available if you or your loved ones have been affected financially due to coronavirus. Some of the steps you can take to manage your financial situation include creating a budget, knowing what income you're going to have coming in and what expenses you'll have, and what savings and investments and loans you have. Understanding your current situation, which investments are invested in the stock market and which are invested in more cautious areas, such as bank term deposits and government bonds. When do your loans mature? What is your most expensive and what flexibility do you have on payments for savings and loans? It's always important to plan ahead. What's coming up in the next few months and what will the financial implications be? It's important to keep reading communications that are being sent to you. Many companies are being increasingly flexible and their approaches are changing on a weekly and daily basis. So it's very important to remain in touch. Look out for any government announcements so that there may be help you can access for you and your family members. Some of the other steps you can take are contacting your bank or your landlord for a mortgage or a rent holiday, reorganizing your debt. So if you have debts, look to minimize the interest payments by transferring your balance to lower rate providers. Talk to your creditors if you're having difficulty, as they often are happy to accommodate you. Some loan and credit card companies are also currently offering payment holidays. Some banks will also allow you to access your fixed term savings at no fee. Only do this if you really need help to dip into your savings and you're unlikely to get the same rate again, given interest rates have dropped. It's also an option to speak to the council where you live to discuss deferring your council rates. And if you don't ask, you won't get. Whilst in lockdown, now is a perfect time to review how much you're paying for things like gas and electricity, mobile phone contracts, broadband, TV, phone lines, and insurance for your home and your car. Compare products from a number of providers. There are often comparison sites online that you can use. It's always best to negotiate with your existing provider because they'll be more accommodating. The ATO has also announced a range of support for individuals and employees. The JobKeeper payment, which has received enormous press coverage recently, helps employers to cover the cost of the employees' wages, so more Australians can remain employed and retain their jobs. Your employer will notify you if they intend to claim a job seeker payment of $1,500 per fortnight on your behalf. There's also the option for an early release of some of your superannuation balances by applying online through MyGov, which will allow you to access up to $10,000 of your super before the end of the financial year and another $10,000 after the end of the financial year. The government recognises that many retirees have been significantly impacted by losses in the financial markets and the member balances have negatively been affected. They've allowed you now to reduce the minimum drawdowns by 50% for the current financial year and for next financial year as well. As the situation around COVID-19 continues to evolve, more of us are working from home. To make it easier when claiming a deduction for additional running costs you incur, special arrangements have been announced. There's a simplified method that allows you to claim a rate of 80 cents per hour for all your running costs, rather than having to calculate the additional amount you incurred for specific running costs. This simplified method is available from the 1st of March to the end of the financial year. Naturally, you could still use one of the existing methods to calculate your running expenses if you prefer to. I hope that some of these tips will help you manage your financial well-being during this difficult time. And I really do hope that you're managing well. Take care.
Hello, today I'm going to share with you an Israeli childhood favorite. We are going to make together some chocolate balls. This is the recipe and you'll be able to receive it through email. We'll start off with the ingredients. So in front of us, I've got 100 grams margarine, 100 grams of chocolate, 1/3 cup of sugar, 200 grams of biscuits, 2 tablespoons of cocoa, 1/3 cup of milk, and some desiccated coconut. With the utensils you will need is a rolling pin or a jar that you can use as a rolling pin, a Ziploc bag, a bowl for mixing, a spoon for mixing, and a microwave safe bowl. Number 1, in a microwave safe bowl, place the butter, chocolate, and sugar. Melt by following your microwave instructions. Mix between each time you heat it. I've put all those ingredients together and we will meet shortly. Okay, I have melted the chocolate with the butter and sugar in the microwave. And now we're going to go to the second step. So place the biscuits in a Ziploc bag and crush with your hands. Then use a rolling pin or tin and crush the biscuits to tiny bits. I've started that. I've placed them in a Ziploc, and you might notice a little trick is I've left the Ziploc open for the reason that the air will flow out of the bag. I've started crushing it and I'll just finish it off. When I'll be done, I'll place those biscuits in the bowl, add the mixture of melted chocolate into the bowl on top of the biscuits and the milk, and I will mix well. Then I will start using a spoon to form balls, and I'll meet you then. I've mixed all my ingredients, but I have noticed that my mixture is a bit runny. What I will do is leave it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, maybe even half an hour, until I'll be able to form some balls. Okay, after a quick chill in the freezer, probably about 20 minutes in the freezer, I was able to form balls. I didn't handle them for too long, so it doesn't start getting all mushy on me. And I formed the balls, I placed them in the coconut, swirl them around using a spoon, and here are our chocolate balls, just the way I remember them when I was a kid.
Hello, dear friends. I'm very honored and grateful to Mendy to be allowed to talk to you a bit about what I consider the central Parshiot of the entire Torah, the Parshiot included in this week's Torah portions, Achrei-Mot and Kedoshim. Most important of the chapters in the Parshiot is chapter 19. That comes at the beginning of Kedoshim. And I think it can be shown that it is actually the central Parsha of the entire Torah, the one that in its implications embraces the whole thing from the beginning of the creation of the universe through to the end of time. It is an enormously rich Parsha in meaning. And I certainly won't be able to summarize it all in just a few moments. But I can say a few things about it for you, maybe to show you why I think it is so important. But there are questions that arise as soon as we begin to look at chapter 19. For example, why is that chapter put there at all? What's the meaning of putting it precisely there, following Shemot? And why is it bracketed, chapter 19 anyway, with chapters before it and after it which stress sexual transgressions? Isn't that rather odd, a placement? And another thing, why does this chapter so stress, in addition to the necessity for impartial justice, a justice that recognizes each particular case and does not import into it issues that are irrelevant, such as even whether the person is poor or rich, belonging to a discriminated group or not, and so on. It simply is dealt with on the basis of the issues themselves. And how does this connect with loving one's neighbor, and especially those amongst us who are weak or vulnerable, and those who may not have any others to support them, such as a stranger who resides in our midst? And even, why does it include such seemingly trivial and arbitrary commandments, hukim, about not mixing seeds together when planting for crops of different seeds of different species, or not allowing animals of different species to breed together, or wearing garments that do not have a mixture of linen and wool? What's the point of all of those particular chapters? How can they be significant as connecting with the core teachings of Judaism and of the Torah? To understand all of that, it seems to me, we must first look at the last chapters of the previous Sefer Shemot. Those final pages of Exodus describe the building of the tabernacle and the garments the priest must wear in it. But most crucially, the descriptions hint rather strongly that the tabernacle itself is constructed after the pattern of the universe, and rebuilding it presents all over again the sanctuary of Eden, and the priests then moving about in it, and the children of Israel camped round about it, all therefore participate in an Edenic kind of society. It reminds us of the teachings of the first chapter of Genesis about the creation of the universe. All of those little different things that are described, the length of the various poles and so on, all of those details are needed because in the creation of the universe, everything was separated from everything else. The light and the dark, the upper and the lower waters, the sea, the land and the sky, and then the creatures that dwell within each, so that the diversity of species that fill the earth was all decreed from the beginning of time. And finally, God created Adam in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them, and God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. So we human beings are particularly in the image of God through being divided into a complementary difference. And through that complementary difference, joining together with joy, we produce life, families, society, and all good. And the task that is given to us is to realize the divine image through the recognition of complementary difference, a difference that begins with the difference of the finite and the infinite, the temporal and the eternal, but it extends to the differences between us and the differences in the world about which we're told in that same passage we have the responsibility to tend, to guard, to protect, and to invigorate and enhance, so making it a proper place for the recognition of the harmony of all things. So it's really that is the key to all of the rest. Why is it that the chapter Kedoshim is surrounded by chapters that warn against sexual transgressions? Because they destroy the family, because they merely serve urges but do not build up a society that can endure in harmony and loving kindness. And why the rulings about not mixing together seeds of different species when sowing fields, or wearing garments that are of mixed plant and animal background. What is all of that about? Recognizing the diversity of things, but bringing them, after that recognition is made, bringing them together in harmony to see them all as unified through God. And there is where holiness resides. Thank you.
First, I'd like to extend our heartfelt condolences to Dr. Ian Katz on the passing of his mother last Thursday. We wish him long life and to have no more sorrow and to look forward to only happy occasions. Also, we wish long life to those who have commemorating yard sites in the upcoming week. To Moshe Bloom on the yard side of his first wife, to Clive Green on the yard side of his father, to Ilana Green on the yard side of her father, and to Caroline and Adam Rose on the yard side of their husband and father. We wish you all long life. We also like to wish happy birthday to all those who will celebrate their Jewish birthday next week. To Jeremy Bendel, to Candace Berkowitz, to Moshe Bloom, to Des Berkowitz, to Ariella Goldman, to Frank Greenstein, to Daniel Israel, to Ian Katz, to Sienna Levin, to Ilana Malkinson, to Jack New, to Jordan Rowick, to Amanda Slomoi, to Jared Smith, to Yedidya Sperling, and to Cherie Valens. We wish you all a happy Jewish birthday. This week's second portion, Kedoshim, contains a positive biblical commandment that states, with justice you should judge your fellow person. Now the Talmud gives two different but equally correct meanings to this verse. The first one, this verse is directed to judges. A judge must treat their litigants equally. A judge is not allowed to have one litigant stand and the other sit, or one speak at length and the other urged to speak briefly, etc., etc. The second meaning is that this verse is directed to every Jew. As the Talmud puts it, it means that judge your fellow person to the side of merit. Now, what does this latter interpretation mean? On the basic level, it causes us to give people the benefit of the doubt. If we see a person doing something that apparently seems to be an act that he or she should not be doing or saying, there is a biblical commandment to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because observing other person doing something wrong or saying something wrong, many of us instinctively assume that negative motives are compelling these acts and words. Now, this attitude has plagued us for millennia and has caused untold harm and divisiveness in communities. We need to learn to judge people favorably. We can condemn the act, we can condemn the behavior, but not the person. We need to attribute positive or at least neutral motives to their acts and words. Now, this approach of condemning the behavior but not the person is counterintuitive and also very challenging. It's extremely different. But at the same time, it is tremendously beneficial for two reasons. The first, when you attribute evil motives to a person doing a bad thing, our brain instinctively swells with negative energy. On the other hand, if we train ourselves to view the person in a positive light, we save our heart from being consumed by ire. So it's better for us. The second benefit is that we'll be in a much better position to communicate our feelings to the person without compelling them to construct defense mechanisms and reciprocate our rebuke with stubbornness and anger. When they feel that inside your heart you don't view them as a bad guy, but as a good guy who just made an error, our criticism will be mostly likely more effective. Think about it ourselves. If somebody would come and approach us and criticize us for our actions, when will they be more successful and effective? If they attribute negative motives or positive motives to our actions? The answer is very obvious. And also, if we're truly bothered by what that person did or said, in order to eliminate such behavior in the future, we need to judge them favorably. Because people who judge others negatively make it much more difficult to effect a change in their attitude and behavior in the future. Now, exploring this further, this injunction to judge every human being meritoriously actually consists of 3 points. The first, so if you see or hear someone say or do something which can be interpreted either as moral, immoral, or bad or good, so give them the benefit of the doubt that the act was a good act. The second level is, and even if you know for sure that the act is wrong, it's clearly wrong, at least attribute positive motives to the act. They might think they're doing the right thing, as elaborated above. And the third level is, even if the act is for sure wrong, and you know for sure that they have negative motives, we still should be careful before judging them. There's another Talmudic statement that says, don't judge your fellow until you are in their place. And their place is a place that we will never be. We have no way of truly appreciating the manner in which their inborn nature, their background, their upbringing, and all their life experiences that hold sway over their lives and that have influenced their character and behavior. Their struggles are not ours. Perhaps if we would have the same struggles, we would behave just as they do, or maybe even worse. Have a great Shabbos.